You've been lied to today, probably more than once. Most people hear about 200 lies every single day. These lies don't come from strangers on the internet. They come from friends, family, the person who smiled at you this morning. The lies are small, they're seamless, and you miss almost all of them because the signals you look for are wrong. Here's what nobody tells you about lie detection. Your instincts are based on movie myths, not reality. Shifty eyes, nervous fidgeting, looking away. Those are Hollywood inventions. Actual liars don't behave like that. Real liars have had practice. They look you straight in the eye. They speak calmly. They seem completely at ease. Psychologist Ekman, who spent decades studying microexpressions, found that common folk wisdom about lying is unreliable. So if you can't read a liar's face, how do you catch a lie? The answer lies in how the brain works under pressure. Lying is cognitively expensive. That's the invisible force most people never think about when they suspect deception. Telling the truth is simple. Your brain recalls a memory. It's one step. But a lie? That's a whole different mental workout. When someone lies, their brain must suppress the truth, construct a false version, monitor your face, and control their body language. That's not one mental process. That's four, running at once, on a brain that evolved to save energy at every turn. Researcher Aldert Vrij, a leading deception expert, calls this cognitive load. His studies prove that liars break under this mental tax. In a 2008 study, Vrij and his team asked suspects unexpected questions. The liar's stories fell apart almost immediately. The lie doesn't fall apart because the liar is a bad person. It falls apart because the brain literally cannot sustain that load. Let me tell you about a real detective in Chicago. His suspect claimed he'd been home all night, alone, watching television. The detective didn't challenge the story. He didn't raise his voice. He just leaned back and asked one simple question. "What was the best part of the show you watched?" The man paused. His hand drifted toward his chin. 5 seconds passed. In those 5 seconds, his brain was scrambling, inventing a TV show, a plot, a character, while reading the detective's face. He said the show was a comedy. The detective nodded, waited 10 minutes, then asked about the last scene before bed. This time, the man described a dramatic argument. A comedy doesn't end with a dramatic argument. The lie collapsed instantly. It wasn't mind reading. It was giving the lie enough room to trip over its own feet. That's the core principle. Investor Bernie Madoff's massive Ponzi scheme unraveled the same way. Regulators asked for a specific trade confirmation, and his story crumbled. You don't break the lie. You overload the system until it breaks itself. That's the insight that changes everything. Now, let's reconstruct a day. Imagine you're walking through your life with these new eyes. What do you notice? Your coworker says she finished the report. Instead of, "Did you finish?" you ask, "What was the trickiest part of that report to write?" She hesitates. Her eyes drift to the corner. That's your 5-second window lighting up. Not guilt yet, but something isn't smooth. Later, a friend cancels plans. You ask, "What's the most unexpected thing that happened today?" He says, "Nothing much," but stutters on the word. You notice the weak word "probably" in a work email about a deadline. That's a hedge. Why is a certain deadline suddenly uncertain? You recall a message from a dating app where the person said they might be free, but gave no specific time. Another escape route. You start seeing these signals everywhere. Weak language, topic shifts, long pauses, contradictions in casual stories. But here's the twist. Noticing them doesn't mean everyone is lying. That's the trap you must avoid. Weak language doesn't always mean deception. Sometimes it means uncertainty. A subject change doesn't always mean guilt. The goal is not to become a paranoid scanner of every interaction. It's to have these tools and know when to use them. So, let me give you the exact tools interrogators and intelligence officers use. These are repeatable tactics you can start using today. Tactic 1, the magic question. Stop asking questions that let someone escape with one word. Never ask, "Did you go out last night?" Ask, "What made you stay out so late?" The question assumes they did the thing. Now, the liar cannot say yes or no. If they're innocent, they'll correct you immediately. "I didn't go out." If they pause, your 5-second window just lit up. How often do you ask yes or no questions without thinking? Probably dozens of times a day. Change that starting today. Tactic 2, the 5-second rule. After you ask any question, shut up. Watch the person for exactly 5 seconds. Don't fill the silence. Don't help them. The brain fights hardest during this window. You're looking for physical signals together. A hand touching the face, eyes breaking away, a sudden vocal pitch change. One signal means nothing. 2 or more, within 5 seconds, that's the brain cracking. Tactic 3, the baseline. Before asking anything that matters, you must know what normal looks like for that person. Watch them when they're relaxed. How fast do they talk? What do they do with their hands? Where do they look when remembering something real? When the conversation turns difficult and their speed drops, Hands go still, eyes lock onto the floor. That deviation is your signal. Tactic 4. The double check. Ask about the same event twice. Use different words. Separate the two questions by about 10 minutes. A truth teller recalls memory. The story stays consistent. A liar manages a fabrication, and fabrications are hard to keep consistent. The detective in Chicago used this perfectly. First question, best part. Second question, last scene. The liar forgot what he'd made up. Tactic 5, the word trap. Liars use weak, wishy-washy language. Maybe? I think. Probably? I guess. To be honest, these are escape routes. They keep a door open so the liar can backtrack later. Truth tellers speak with specificity and detail. When you hear someone hedge a statement that should be firm, you're hearing the sound of someone leaving themselves an exit. Tactic 6, the topic swap. A liar feeling you getting close will abruptly change the subject. They'll ask about your own life to deflect. Let them change the topic, nod, wait a few seconds, then gently bring them back. Their discomfort will speak volumes. Truth tellers don't need to escape a conversation. Liars do. Have you noticed someone suddenly changing topics when a question got tough? Tactic 7, the interrupt. Interrupt a liar mid-story with a random question about a detail that happened before their story began. For example, wait, what time did you say you got home from work that day? This forces the liar to juggle two fabrications at once. The brain cannot manage a fake timeline and a fake answer simultaneously. They'll stutter, pause too long, or contradict themselves. Tactic 8, the fake detail. Slip a wrong detail into the conversation on purpose. It must have been tough driving home in all that rain. It wasn't raining. A truth teller corrects you immediately. A liar may agree because agreeing feels safer than challenging you. When someone nods along to a false fact you know is false, you just caught them outsourcing their story to your words, not their memory. Now, you have 8 specific tactics, but here's the dark side nobody warns you about. Once you learn to see these signals, you start seeing them everywhere. That text message that arrived a little too late, that vague work email loaded with probably, that dating app story that shifted slightly. The same tactics that expose lies can also manufacture suspicion where none exists. Weak language doesn't always mean deception. Sometimes, a subject change signals discomfort with a topic for reasons entirely unrelated to lying: pain, embarrassment, anxiety. The goal is not to be a paranoid scanner. The goal is to have these tools and know when to intentionally turn them on. Here's the one thing to try. In your next conversation, ask one assumption question instead of a yes or no question. Just one. Watch the 5 seconds that follow. Don't judge, don't interrogate, just observe. Notice what happens when you give someone's brain more work. You are not trying to catch anyone. You are simply learning to see what has always been there, hidden in plain sight. Because here's the truth you walked into this video not knowing. You've been lied to today, probably more than once. And you had no idea, but now you do. Now you see the world differently, and that changes everything, doesn't it?